All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eddie Childs, and I'm the VP of Growth Marketing and Strategy here at Mediagistic. And I'm joined here by Mediagistic's VP of Product and Innovation, Christopher St. Jean, and our B2B Demand Gen Specialist, Tyreek Minor. So today we're going to cover how to prepare your home services business for the AI search revolution. And when we say revolution, we really can't emphasize that enough because we're right in the middle of a seismic shift, right? Away from Google as the sole search engine and toward a world where Google is definitely a big player. They're a player in the mix, but they're going to be there along with a number of other AI search entities. And as we're going to discuss, essentially the search wars of the 2000s are going to be back, and they're going to be back with a vengeance. And it's going to be increasingly difficult to navigate this landscape. But in today's webinar, we're going to go through the tools and tricks your business needs to stay ahead of the curve. So stay tuned. Okay, a little bit about us before we get started, though. We're Mediagistic. We've worked in the home services marketing industry for more than 20 years, and we've helped thousands of HVAC and home services contractors throughout the United States and Canada during that time. We're also a Google Premier partner, a Yelp partner, and we specialize in meta advertising for the home services industry. Okay, so here we go. Search is changing faster than most contractors realize. And as we'll dig further into, by 2027, large language models. So when I say large language models, that means things like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, DeepSeek, even Google Gemini. Uh, they're going to drive more traffic than traditional Google search, meaning that businesses that don't adapt are going to risk becoming invisible. So today we're going to show you what you can do to stay ahead and stay seen. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. I'll briefly cover the shifting AI search landscape. Chris St. Jean will talk through the tactics that matter most right now. And then Tyreek is going to run through a self-assessment tool we've built to help gauge your AI search and SEO readiness. And then finally, we're going to run through some immediate actions your business can take to stay ahead of the curve and stay visible and competitive. Okay, so here's the AI search shift. Basically, AI tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Gemini, and a slew of others, they're reshaping how people discover answers. So prioritizing trusted, structured content and reducing traditional search clicks. So SEO now means optimizing for answers, not just rankings. So, LLMs, these large language models, they really work by summarizing results. So you're not necessarily going to get as many traditional clicks to your website. That doesn't mean that your website is invaluable. In fact, as a matter of fact, I would say that websites are more valuable than ever to brands because they contain a lot of the information that are going to be surfaced in these search engines. It's just the way that consumers find and interact with your brand will be a little different because they're using these AI search engines more as an interface. The visibility in these particular tools is tied to trusted, structured content. So we'll dive a little deeper, particularly St. Jean will dive a little deeper into what that means. SEO itself is evolving into answer optimization. So when we say that, we've been doing that for quite a while in the industry and here at Mediagistic and just kind of across the SEO industry, optimizing for long tail answer optimization. So the kinds of questions that people ask to say, Alexa or Siri, things like, hey, why are there warm spots in my house? Or why is my air conditioner making this noise or this smell? Those kinds of longer tail conversational kinds of answers that consumers want to know. Those are highly valued by these engines and they're going to shape sort of discovery. So creating value-based, answer-based, long-tail messaging around these sorts of questions that consumers typically ask and creating useful content is going to help get you into these search engines. And probably the biggest piece, the biggest takeaway from this slide of all is that Google is no longer going to be the only gatekeeper by the time we get to this world where all of these AI search engines really control a large portion of the market share. I know that's something that a lot of contractors have wished for forever. We have wished for it for a long time because having to work with just Google creates pretty much an uncompetitive environment, in our opinion. So we're going to live in a world that's much more, there's going to be a lot more options for consumers when they choose to engage in a search. And that's going to translate into just a different landscape for everybody involved. Okay, so what we're seeing here, this chart from SEMrush. SEMrush is one of the most trusted SEO platforms in the industry. It shows a sharp trajectory, right? Large language model search traffic is on pace to overtake Google by 2027, and that shift is already starting. Now, that's not to say that Google is, irrelevant now. The LLM search traffic is only a fraction of what total search traffic is. Google's still the 800-pound gorilla, so don't just everybody go run off and turn off all your search ads and whatever. But what we're telling you here is that Google is still dominant, but early adopters who really look at diversifying their search presence and look at it more like it's a stock portfolio, they're the ones who are gonna gain the upper hand here in months to come. And frankly, this is an under monetized space. AI search does not have a lot of ads and paid ads running in it yet. That's not to say that it won't in the future, so we're just going to kind of have to roll with the punches there. And as the landscape evolves, as usual, we as brands are going to have to evolve. But right now it's under monetized, and that means opportunity. And that's a good place for, I think, everybody to be in who's kind of in that early adopter phase. All of this is to say that SEO itself is not dead. This is something you hear all the time. SEO is dead. SEO is dead. It's evolving, right? As large language models, again, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Google Gemini, is they prioritize quality, authority, and trusted branding over ad dollars. The businesses that invested early in strong content and long-term SEO are now reaping the benefits in AI search. As you can see right here, this is a tweet from Lily Ray. She is a leading voice in SEO, or one of the many leading voices in SEO, but I would say that she spent a lot of time, particularly when the search generative experience was coming along, and Google AI SEO and AI overviews are now like a reality in Google search. She tweeted this not too long ago. Wonder how the SEO is dead. GEO is here, journalists. So GEO is AI SEO. Can explain how some of our SEO clients have already made millions from AI search this year without actively doing any GEO. But they have invested heavily in SEO and branding for years. Imagine that. So what she's saying is that by using a lot of the best practices in traditional SEO, by doing a lot of things that drive value from a brand equity standpoint, these brands are already positioning themselves in a great place to take advantage of AI search, and they're seeing the dividends. So that's a big takeaway too, is that these tactics, these long-term branding efforts, they're also paying dividends in AI search, because AI is capable of understanding not just what you write on the page, but what is depicted in images. So it's able to understand not just if you say you have a strong brand and you have a strong brand voice, but you have a strong look and feel and kind of like identity for your brand, and visual identity is the name of the game there. Okay, and so finally, before I pass this off to St. Jean, one more thing to kind of show you guys is this came up not that long ago. Perplexity's ranking patterns were analyzed and revealed, and it uncovered a ton of different ranking patterns. But basically, they prove that core SEO principles, traditional tactics, they still apply, and they're actually going to be more effective in these AI search engines than they are even in traditional Google search. And as Chris is going to go over here in a minute, there are some additional tactics that you can do to add juice to your web presence specifically for AI search. But these are things that have been been core principles to SEO for a long time, and that's content helpfulness and semantic relevance, right? So creating content that's not just transactional, it's useful to your end user and it's relevant to them and the searches they're going to perform and the problems they experience in the world. That's something that's gonna get you an edge when it comes to AI search. Authority and trustworthiness. So contributing factors here, those include positive reviews. Getting Google reviews has always been a major tactic from an SEO standpoint. It's become more important over the years as the local map pack is involved in importance for home services brands. But that's also important for AI search engines because they also want to surface content that people trust and that contractors that people want to do business with. Awards and accreditations, mentions within best of or industry specific lists, and even backlinks from reputable websites. These all matter and they help to establish the authority and trustworthiness of your brand. And frankly, going back to investing in that brand equity that we've been talking about, building that visual identity also helps to establish that for your brand. And then finally, technical page optimization. So these are a little more advanced. These are things that you do need, a technical kind of website expert to handle for you. But factors like site speed, mobile responsiveness, SSL, which is a security measure, XML sitemaps, robots.txt, and structure matter, they all still matter. And it's important to understand that, these are the reason that they matter is that just like a traditional search engine, these tools want sites that serve quickly, that they can crawl, that users get good information for and have a great experience on, and that they're secure. They don't want to send users to spammy, unsecure websites. These are all very, very important from a technical aspect. Your website needs to possess these qualities in order for an AI search engine to value them. So this is all very interesting in that these SEO principles still apply, they still matter, and they're probably going to be more important as time goes on. So now I'm going to hand it off to Chris St. Jean. Chris?
All right. Thank you, Eddie. All right. Let's get into some practical changes, some things that contractors can do now, kind of, to get a little bit more detail of what Eddie was saying. We like to start with the GBP. So how often in a technology revolution can you get the answers to the test? And that's the great thing. That's what's happening right now with AI and all these language models is that we're going to these models and literally asking them for the answers to the test. So I'll go and ask for what's a great HVAC company in my area or compare a different HVAC type of equipment. I'll get the results and then I'll ask that engine how they came up with those results. So I'm literally getting the answers to the test, and that's what we're going to give you today in this webinar, and we're continuing to do for our customers as well here. So I like to start with just the foundation. We've said this for all these years here, and what Eddie's saying is like local SEO principles are definitely translating into AI results and success as well. That foundation of your Google business profile, think about how much information is in there, not just about your hours and your details and about us, but it's a lot of information that can be extracted from these language models. So having a fully optimized listing, all your attributes in there, all as much as you can fill out. Again, that's a source of information these language models can pull from you there. So you're starting there, making sure it's consistent. We've said, you've heard NAP consistency. It's like coming back just because, again, you're looking for the answers to these questions and that the language models are pulling in the most consistent ones they can find. So if they see your business with different hours somewhere, it's going to create a irregularity and they may not serve up that answer. So making sure there's consistency. There's a big portion about this is like trust. And you've heard marketers like myself and Eddie and Tyreek for probably as long as you've had an HVAC business or been in this industry, how important reviews are. They're equally important. They're like instant trust signal. And think about how consumers are interacting with search engines. When Eddie's talking about getting questions and answers, think about how natural language you're looking for the best rated, highly rated, best review HVAC company. Those reviews are all going to pull into that source information. So again, we're going to be doing things as marketers to kind of turn up the juice, make sure the technical elements are connected. But as the business owner, making sure you have that review generating culture, review gathering culture, like in your DNA, is only going to amplify your success here. And then finally, we'll dig into this a little bit more of like, again, get that brand out more in social. That's become another signal now that language models are using. All right, we're going to keep going. And I want to talk about content as a competitive advantage. So we're getting some third-party tools coming online now that are going to help us measure AI results. Okay, we can do individual searches on ChatGPT and Perplexity and things like that to see the results. But now we're having tools like SEMrush, and they're coming online and they're helping us look at a brand and a website and compare it to others in that market, see opportunities for AI search in there. So I think having that quality content is that competitive advantage. I'll give you an example. We put one of our clients through this tool, and it started to find some opportunities in the market for you should be putting more content about your warranties and about your 24/7 emergency service, because other contractors are not talking about that as much on their site. So as you have consumers and homeowners looking for emergency HVAC services or more details about warranties or rebates, having that extra content on your site and your properties is going to give you a better chance of being served up for that answer. So you're finding competitive advantages. We love video here just as a tool to express your brand, but AI can read those videos. They can go and watch a YouTube video, pull out the context, pull out the content of that. So making that as another amplification of your brand is really strong, both visually and getting you into basically these language models of pulling out that intent there. You'll again, that value, see that home maintenance guides, it's about value and signals. So if you can get value out to that customer or end user about things they can do for their home, preparing for certain seasons, language models are going to pick up that as useful and relevant content and then score you better, so then you're more likely to be shown. And then finally, this social post. I mean, you're going to hear me say this a few different times. It's about signals. It's about how you can communicate your brand with these language models to create that synergy, so then you're more likely to be shown up as an answer. All right, let's dive a little bit more detail into some of this technical side. And I want to focus on the signals in here. You heard me say optimization of your Google business profile. Of course, you want like dense, keyword-rich content or like robust content on your site. So you want pages about the specific services you offer, pages about the specific markets you service. So of course, that's sort of 101 there. But I want to talk about additional signals. You'll see this, on this guest post. You've heard us kind of say that, but imagine that it's like a third party, someone else writing about your brand. So imagine an article gets put out about top 10 HVAC companies in Tampa, Florida. That's produced on a third party independent site. And then language models are scanning that, pulling that information, and then serving it back to consumers in that area. So getting your brand on additional websites, on additional sources, again, it's going to amplify that sort of, imagine a spider web of information, getting your brand on more of those rings of the spider web to give you more chances of serving up. And then finally, that branded signal. Imagine AI SEO is just like regular SEO with just your branding kind of turned up, that dial turned up, because they're looking for the bigger brands. And then when someone's searching for a specific about a brand in an area, they want to see more mentions of that. So when you see citations, reviews, and mentions, something we've always done is citations here. And that's basically getting our clients in more like directories, more third-party websites that can list HVAC companies, list people in different services. The more of those creates, again, that network of information, and then that serves from the language model. So turning everything up a little bit, especially with the brand, is going to help. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Instagram, and social has come on board. This is newer, that has just become crawlable. So imagine you already doing this in your company now. It's just adding a little technical element to it. So you can see there when you tag it, like a geotag in your post, putting a hashtag of your company name, your industry, the services you're doing. Those are the signals that these language models can pick up. So if you're already doing social posts and Instagram, just turn it up a little bit and make sure you're including some of these technical elements. And that's going to, again, amplify your brand and give you more opportunities for those language models to kind of pick up. So if you think about just from a data collection side, if you're an HVAC brand and you are trying to compete in a very established, saturated market, giving that language model more opportunities to find your brand, more opportunities to associate the context of your brand with your services or other things, that's going to only amplify and give you a better chance of showing up. Because the best part about what we're seeing so far, and again, this is new, because we're just starting to see data coming in about what AI, like the pages they're hitting, you know, this is an opportunity for smaller brands that maybe not as established to break through some of the ceiling. So doing all of these tactics here can give you a better chance to compete against more established brands. All right, let's move on here. We are going to talk about I want to talk about this is a little bit advanced, but I want to just talk about how marketers, we're thinking about this. We can go behind the scenes and see what's happening to your site, who's coming into your site, where they're coming from. We can look into kind of a technical server log here. And so we can actually see what language models, those bots, are hitting certain pages on your site. So it's important for us to make sure that those pages are robust and full of good content. And then if we can start to see some of the pages that aren't getting viewed or aren't getting served or those bots aren't coming there, we can go back and add some more content, add some more elements to those pages and give you a better chance of them being included in this model. And I'll just say this for the first time in my career here, when we produce content in the past, if you produce a blog or an article on Google, it's going to go up and get indexed and found. In the last decade, marketers like myself, we have produced so much content and put it in the market about heat pumps and ductless and all the things that homeowners are asking for. Google is kind of full in a sense. So just producing content is not good enough. It's got to be valuable content and it's got to be technical content, and making sure it's adapted to how you produce it is going to show up for these language models. All right, let's keep going. Okay, why this works here. So, this is about making sure your brand is in a better state of being able to communicate with these language models and how the search is switching. So already right now that, we want to make sure that your site and your third-party sources, your Google business profile, everything is just sort of technically sound so that the content we're putting on there is able to be easily digestible by these models. And then to make sure that, again, your site is being viewed and scanned by these models, and to make sure that you're going to be served those answers from your website and your properties are going to be served as answers. And I would just say some of these simple fixes of just making sure the way your content is put on the site, making sure the optimizations are just kind of technically sound, are going to give you a competitive advantage. And by studying websites across the US for all these years, I'm going to tell you a lot of them are not set up like this. They're already behind. So just making these little changes are going to have big results. All right. All right, finally, we're going to say it's just, the way I look at it again is just imagine SEO that you thought of like getting links and content and building reviews, and just adding that additional kind of like brand amplification, brand equity, kind of turning that juice up. That really combination is going to help here. So, seeing these sort of points on the screen here, getting more content on different sources here across multiple channels, the ABCs of like making sure you're getting reviews and engaging, those are all signals. And so Google favors recognizable brands. You can do that from just sheer force of being a giant brand or a franchise in the space, or you can take your brand and amplify it across these different channels and use some of these tactics and strategies. And now you've just sort of leapfrogged over your competitors because you are playing by the rules that are literally given to you by these language models if you ask them. Okay. We are going to pass it over here to Tyreek, and it's going to go into our assessment, readiness assessment that we've built. Tyreek, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. As we've kind of talked about kind of at length here, right, we understand now that search is changing very quickly, right? So your customers aren't using Google in the same way anymore, right? They're using these AI tools. It's changing how your potential customers search locally. They may be affected by brand signals, right? And it's just really shifting how people find HVAC companies like yours. So that's why we kind of built this AI search and SEO readiness assessment, right? It's a tool, kind of a diagnostic tool. It's a very quick 10 questions, can take less than 3 minutes. It's really not difficult at all. It's really help you evaluate for yourself how ready you are for this shift. Okay, it's going to look at it really in particular in 3 areas. One, your AI readiness, right? So are you creating the kind of content the AI tools will actually show customers or potential customers? The second item is, local SEO strength, right? Are you showing up when someone nearby searches for HVAC services? And then third, brand building signals. So are you giving search engines and customers reasons to trust your business? Okay. At the end, you'll get a very simple score, but not only that, you'll also get a blueprint or a diagnostic that really showcases exactly what you should be working on and what maybe how you should be, what you should be working on next. So think of it kind of like a quick health check or a diagnostic for your marketing and AI and SEO efforts. Okay. Now I'm going to go over the kind of like what your score would be. And again, it's imperative that you understand this is more of a diagnostic. So the score isn't, or the goal isn't to necessarily pass or fail. If you take this assessment, you may score between a score of 0 and 20. That's kind of puts you in an emerging phase. So that's going to showcase to you, you may have little to maybe even no SEO or AI prep currently in place, right? That's just right now, and you may be a bit easy to miss online. However, we can provide you the steps that you can take and that might be necessary to get you to the next stage, which is building, right? So those of you that score between 21 and 34, you may have gotten the basics started, but there's room to improve your visibility and the trust, right? And the trust that that your customers are looking for. You ultimately want to build that up. You want to get to the developing stage, right? That's scoring between 35 and 44. So you may be doing very well in AI and SEO preparedness, but you're not capturing your full potential just yet. Definitely not like some of the leaders in your industry are that are scoring between 45 and 50. Those folks are ahead of the pack, and customers and search engines already see them as a trusted local dealer. That's where we all ultimately want to be. However, again, this assessment is not to understand if you're passing or failing. It's really to get a very clear picture of where you stand today and what steps will help you win more customers in kind of like this new seismic shift, as Eddie put. Now, see on the screen a QR code and how you can actually get to actually taking this assessment. Okay, here's why it's actually valuable and why it works. So we understand again, AI-powered search is already changing the game, and HVAC businesses that adjust early are the ones that customers will ultimately end up finding first, right? This is a great opportunity. So this quick assessment can show you where you're strong, where you may be falling behind, and ultimately how to fix it. It's going to help you set some really clear priorities for your marketing and in your AI and SEO efforts. It's going to showcase to you where to invest in which areas that'll actually move the needle for you in a positive direction. And ultimately, it's going to help you align your team around what's going to drive that visibility and ultimately those leads. Again, it's a very simple 3-minute tool. It's going to give you this custom roadmap for future-proofing your business, right? That's what we're thinking. Again, Google for now that's what we're looking for, but we are moving forward into this kind of like this AI shift. And this is how you can kind of stay ahead or get a roadmap to how you can stay ahead.
And we'll pause here for just a minute so everybody can scan the code if they choose to. There's also going to be additional opportunities at the end of the webinar. You can scan the code when we go to the Q&A session. So we'll give everybody just a second longer in case anyone wants to scan it to go take the assessment.
It's a great phrase you put in there, Tyreek, future-proofing your business. Like making these changes now, it's like just setting yourself up for this change because it's coming.
Absolutely, Chris. Okay, let's move on. All right, so key takeaways. First and foremost, AI search is going to reshape traffic by 2027. That's not very far away. We have roughly a year and a half. And then, by all estimates, at least by SEM's estimate, we're going to be in a world with multiple search engines all fighting it out for the consumers' click in their search traffic. So we need to be proactive to make sure that we're forward facing and that we're ready for that future where the search wars are going to be happening again. Second off, quality content and brand building are the foundation for everything here, right? If you are producing quality content that users actually care about, that answer their questions, solve their problems, and then you're also investing in building a strong, visibly recognizable brand with clear brand identity, that's going to help comprise the foundation, and it's going to serve you right now from a local search perspective, and then it's going to serve you into the future from an AI search perspective as well. Leveraging Instagram, YouTube, and Google Business Profile for crawlable content. Excuse me, I was struggling with that. Those assets live off your website. They point back to your website, and there are additional places where you can make your value propositions, your visual identity, etc. That content can go live in those places as well. Creates additional points of interest for a traditional search engine, but even more so for an AI search engine, right? Because Instagram in particular, for a long time, we as SEO say, look, social media doesn't have any relevance for SEO. Well, that's changed. Instagram is crawlable by these tools. AI search engines can crawl them. Google's already crawling them. YouTube is owned by Google, and so is Google Business Profile. Update those regularly, create content for those platforms, upload authentic photography that is not stock photography, original short form video. Go wild with it, because these are platforms that right now are paying dividends from an external search standpoint. Another thing, conventional SEO, what we are doing right now for traditional search and regular audits and technical SEO, like regular audits of your server logs and a lot of that stuff Chris mentioned, those are going to ensure visibility right now and in the future. And finally, use our readiness scoring tool to benchmark and plan. There's no commitment. It's free. It's a 5-minute kind of little assessment. You can run through it very quickly as a brand and just see where you're at and see where you're going. It's very simple. It's not like super overly technical, but it's going to give you that roadmap and that clear path forward for where am I at and what can I do to get to the next level. It's really that simple.
All right.
Okay, and finally, we're going to talk about what you can do next, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So start by auditing your Google business profile, your website speed, and your content quality. Take a good long look at it. Be uncompromising. Be critical. Take a look at those things, and are they actually doing, are they serving up a quality experience for people who are searching for your brand? If not, I would say, make moves now to rectify that and increase the quality of all of those things, your content, your website speed, your Google business profile. Create high value, user-focused content weekly. That's a goal that we're setting for all the contractors we work with as an agency. But I would tell this to anybody who asks me, how often should I be creating content for my brand and for my users and my audience and the people who are seeking to engage in my brand? Do it weekly. Google cares about freshness. AI search engines care about freshness, and so do social media algorithms. So there's no downside really to creating that content other than the time and effort it takes to create it. Leverage video and social media platforms as SEO assets. As I was saying before, these things weren't traditionally thought of as SEO assets, but they are now. So it's time to start investing in that. And short form video and short form storytelling is going to be a key to doing that. Another part, analyze your crawl data and improve low hit pages. That's going to be hard to do for somebody who doesn't have deep technical expertise and for like how to check server logs on a website and really do that analysis. But if you're looking to get an edge on your competition, get out ahead of it and get ready for the AI search revolution, that's going to be a critical step. And that's something we would recommend you get in touch with us or get in touch with anybody with that technical expertise, and we can help you with that audit. And then finally, measure results and iterate. Right, nothing's ever perfect. Keep at it, keep hacking at it, and keep improving. You improve a little bit every day, you're gonna have big gains by the end of the year. So now we're gonna move on. I'm gonna hand it back over to Chris. He's going to talk a little bit about a few things that we have as an agency on offer to help businesses turn this into a turnkey kind of process for them. Chris.
Thanks, Eddie. So I love new tools. Every time I've been to a HVAC conference, like going up to see just new tools are developed. And so are we over here at the agency. We are continuing to adapt our solutions to better help our clients, adapt to what's happening in the search engines, adapt to what's happening in the space. Our Lead Builder is our flagship digital marketing solution. It's kind of an all-inclusive package. We changed the SEO portion of it into something called the SEO Boost. We are going to continue to make variations of this solution to adapt as we're seeing new AI data come back in. But if you see it, the ingredients here, this is available now to all of our current customers. If you are getting ready to renew your Lead Builder, this is going to come in our new version. If you're not one of our customers yet, reach out. We will help find a solution for you. So we've got lots of great products for this. But if you can see here, it's just more signals. So what we're really seeing in our testing testing experimentation is that by increasing the signals, especially third party or outside your site or GBP, that's going to help boost your visibility. We can see that already now in our data and reporting. And again, as more AI tools come on, this kind of product is going to help with your visibility there. So it's more signals, more content, more guest posts, press releases, embedding video on more sources. Again, that's helped creating that fabric, that kind of network of information. Seeing this work, so reach out if you want to get this added, and it's going to get naturally added anyway if you're a lead builder customer. All right, that is our pitch. Back to some Q&A.
All right, so now it's your turn. Question and answer time. You can just type it in the chat there. Feel free to open it up. Questions on tactics, comments. How are you preparing for AI search, or how do you, what do you want to know about preparing for AI search? Let's talk content branding, local authority. You guys have your say. And as promised, the QR code is here as well in case you want to do the AI readiness assessment.
And this last thing for people out there, it's like you may not be using those tools, or you may have tried GPT just to experiment. As soon as a provider like Apple replaces their completely out of date Siri experience and integrates a better language model, or it finds a way to partner with ChatGPT in a way, you will see this explode like you can't even imagine. So as soon as it gets on more devices like that inherently, that's when the AI search is going to really take off here. All right, looks like we got some questions coming in.
Yeah, gentlemen. We do have a couple of questions. So the first is, I think I can take this one actually. She says, wasn't able to make the first part of the webinar. Is it possible to have a recording sent afterwards? Absolutely. This will be available on demand at the close of this. Second question, either one of you can take this, gentlemen. What new AI platforms have been monetized by ads? Have any?
There's a little bit. Perplexity is starting to put ads in their results. If you fast forward a little bit, they may end up looking like in 5-10 years, the AI results may look similar to what you're seeing now, search results. GPT hasn't really integrated them. Perplexity, like I said, is just now testing. And then in Gemini, Google's Gemini, of course, they're going to start putting in results there because it's a Google product. They're going to find a way to put ads in everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, the longer form version of that answer is that most of these platforms have not in any way, shape, or form truly cracked the monetization puzzle for these. So the opportunities there, at least, for the foreseeable future. And at the end of the day, Google, the Search Engine Journal just posted about this, but Google is cannibalizing its own model by serving AI overviews in its search results. So that's something, if you want, go check me out on LinkedIn. I just posted about it. There's like a long form article you can read. It's very, very interesting.
Great. So another question, guys, says, we've heard that websites that are on WordPress, that potentially AI can't read them. You guys speak back to that.
Yeah, that's actually erroneous. So maybe what it is the AI cannot read JavaScript. So that's a big difference. So AI can read semantic HTML, and as a matter of fact, semantic HTML, which is literally just the words on the page, basically, what like for older like millennials and stuff, the stuff that we learned to style up our MySpace pages, Google can the AI search engines can read those just fine, and that's basically about 90% of what lives on a WordPress site anyway. So it's perfectly readable for sure.
Yeah. And you could put text over your images on WordPress sites. So everything can be is scanned there.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm taking them as they come in. All right. So what are some examples of attributes in the Google business profile that you see are often not optimized well, particularly for LLM?
I like the ones like veteran owned, women owned, minority owned. Those are great ones. Because I know we've seen searches, people looking for veteran-based companies. So it's like only benefiting you to have that listed there. Maybe a smaller search segment there. But again, if that query involves one of those segments looking for a specific type of business, having that attribute, it's like there you're putting it up there for the LMs to read.
Yeah. Even more fundamental than that, I would say the categories used in the Google business profile itself, those, I mean, if we're even talking traditional search engines, more often than not, I see providers are using the wrong categories, or they're, as their primary category, or they're not using all the secondary categories that they can assign to the actual Google business profile. Or, they're not making the effort to change those categories seasonally, because, if your primary category is set to the air conditioning contractor, it's not going to help you that much in the dead of winter, right? So you should be rotating those seasonally. You should be paying good, close attention to what those primary categories are and the secondary categories, and then what's driving value in your specific market. Each market has its own kind of like niche search behavior, so like HVAC services or HVAC, repair or whatever. The word HVAC may or may not be heavily used in your market area. So you have to pivot with what the local user behavior actually is. And then I would say, the business description. Now, this is a big differentiator from traditional Google search. Google doesn't actually value that much what you put in the business description itself, or all the copy right in the product section. It's sort of just kind of there for the user experience, because Google wants to, has a different way of valuing that content. An AI search engine is going to value that content. So filling out your Google business profile completely with as much information as you can about your services, your value proposition, your brand voice, what products you offer, that's all going to pay dividends for you in an AI search engine.
You just mentioned the Google business profile. We got a question. It says, as my company, we both do plumbing and AC. Doesn't make sense to have two separate Google My Business profiles.
Listen, that's a very nuanced answer, maybe longer than this webinar can handle here. It is, I'll just be very transparent with you. I study sites all over the US. It is very difficult to be both visible for HVAC terms and plumbing terms from a single Google entity. It just is. So you can show it for both, but it's going to be hard to dominate. It's got to be a business reason. We've seen some larger brands separate those two, their plumbing and HVAC, but they've got to be like two different offices and buildings. So there's a kind of cost benefit to it. Most businesses can't do that. So you're going to have to choose a primary category, like what's best for your business as far as revenue. But because of the competition in this space, and in every market I've studied, almost impossible to be dominant in both sides of those services.
And that's why you're seeing big franchise players, Chris, like Scott's 1 Hour and like Ben Franklin, like do that, where they actually like separate the brands. Is that right? Because then that's the other rub, right? We just spent a lot of time telling you guys how much you should invest in building brand equity around these brands. Well, guess what? You got to do that twice.
Yeah, so
it's already hard enough to build up a ton of brand equity around one brand. You do it around two, but I mean, if you have the resources and time, Chris, it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep with the branding, right? So we talked about Instagram. But someone mentions, okay, we talked about Instagram. What about Facebook? Is this still relevant?
I would say so. Yeah. So, here's kind of the take on Facebook is people are interacting with Facebook in a very different way than they interacted with it 10 years ago. The way that people interacted with Facebook 10 years ago, I would say a lot of that behavior has shifted over to Instagram. It's become it's more visual and it's more short form, but people are still particularly like older homeowners have not moved to Instagram. They're still on Facebook. So that like kind of 55 plus crowd is there, but I would say, people who are kind of in that homeowning age, they go to Facebook to interact with groups. Facebook invested a ton of resources and marketing years and years ago into promoting its groups function. And I would say that a lot of the activity that happens on Facebook today is in those groups. They happen in neighborhood groups, interest groups, mom groups, things like that. And so these are influential things that are happening in your local service area. And there's some crossover with Nextdoor. Nextdoor has actually become more powerful as a social media platform as well for a lot of the same reason. But people who are really looking to be engaged in their local community, I would say Meta has more reach and is kind of second to none. Facebook, I just said Meta. That platform is second to none for those types of interactions. Chris, what do you think?
I agree. And I would just add, Google reviews are still the the standard of getting third-party reviews, but meta reviews are still used in a lot of searches. So making sure you have a profile there is going to help you. The reviews are important on
Yeah,
Facebook.
they're responsive. They're powerful. They're not as powerful as Google reviews, but they are powerful. There's juice there. People are going to leave. The thing about Meta is it doesn't matter if you want if you want to have a Meta business page or not, it's going to create like an entity for your business. And people are going to be leaving reviews whether you have claimed it or not, and whether you're interacting with it or not. So, businesses that answer their reviews get 12% better reviews, and they get more reviews. So,
Hey, for the audience here, we got a lot of questions. Keep them coming, guys. We appreciate it.
yeah,
We
we'll
want
stay on as
to
long
share
as
the
you guys
knowledge here.
are interested in asking questions for sure.
Absolutely. So, this next one, this is a pretty good one. So, is there anything, this person asks, is there anything they should currently be doing for AI search that are not things they should be doing for local SEO? So, are there some things that are unique to
That's a
AI
great question,
search?
Aaron. Yeah. TG, I'm gonna pick it up. I'll tee
Go
it
for it.
off and then hand it
Yeah.
off to you. You've got your own ideas, but
Yeah.
some of the things we mentioned, the server logs thing, obviously that's a very technical answer. That would be something I would say that is more relevant for AI search, looking at the logs, looking at which pages are being hit by which AI search engines, and then adjusting your website and your web presence accordingly. Optimize the way you optimize for offsite's a little different. Like Google probably isn't going to care about what you say from a semantic like aspect on Instagram as much as say an AI search engine is. And the same thing with like the visuals and stuff, but Google does care about those things. So not quite. Other things, the thing we mentioned about filling out your Google profile and using, I wouldn't say stuff it with keywords, but using really relevant language in your Google profile. Well, that got more important. And Google doesn't care as much about what you say about your own brand in your Google business profile as what other people say about it, but an AI search engine sure as hell does care. You know what I mean? So that's something I would say is a little different. And then doubling down again, doubling down on your brand equity, but just doing it in a way that's super visual, I think has become way more important. But Chris, I'm sure you have a lot of other ideas.
There's nothing that I've seen done for AI that would be at the detriment of local SEO. It'd only be at the amplification. I mean, it's really just taking good content and then like maybe technically adapting it to like some of the schema that AI can read better, but not really. I mean, if anything, it would only benefit more. I mean, just turning up, like I said, more emphasis on getting your brand more mentions out there. That's only going to help in that local SEO space as well.
Yeah. And then this is a little kind of like inside baseball. I would say important content, do not render it in JavaScript on your website. Avoid overusage of divs, things like that, because AI search engines, at least currently, just like we were talking about earlier with the WordPress thing, it's not about WordPress. It's sort of about the different coding you're using to render those experiences and that content on your website. Make
Correct.
it crawlable.
That's exactly right. We've seen I've seen some very rudimentary old sites showing up in my AI results here that are just, again, they have content that I was looking for, and then LLMs find that and serve it up.
Chris, I want to point this question to you. Since these LLMs are generally walled gardens, do you have access to reporting on the specific kinds of questions that are asked them, right? Related to service industries, similar to reporting on keyword searches?
It's a little loose right now, I'll be frank. Some of the big third-party tools, Eddie mentioned SEMrush or SEMrush, however you want to call it, is huge at this point. It's used by multiple industries. It's the biggest tool. They just brought an AI tool that's helping to see that. But I think it's a little bit inference and a little bit of data modeling, because to your point, they're not going to give specifics in there. There was a brief moment a week or so ago where ChatGPT made a mistake and made all their searches and prompts public from companies, and it scared everybody for a second, and they since corrected that really quickly. So it's a little bit of inference. Ahrefs has an AI tool on there, so not explicitly. I mean, you can't get explicit results like you can from Google because they're pulling from their own first party data, but it can start to be inferences. And so what these tools are going to start doing is building up their own databases of them asking questions and then recording the answers that LLMs are getting, and then making their own making their own database of what those questions are. But what I've seen the results so far, again, it's pretty interesting. It's like uncovering angles of questions that I may not have thought of, and it's finding opportunities for our clients to kind of amplifying content, like I mentioned about warranties and service hours, to find some opportunities for traffic.
And then just to add on to what Chris is saying, if you're looking to figure out what are people asking about services, brands, I would actually point you towards kind of an older school of SEO and thought, and that's voice optimization, right? So there are tools that maybe aren't they're not indicative exactly of what these AI search engine questions are asking, but like I would look at things like Answer the Public. That tool is awesome for figuring out what are long tail like we've been using these forever as SEOs, but like what are the long tail questions that users are asking about HVAC and home services brands? And then you can sort of back into and reverse engineer what's being asked to AI search engines. Because guess what? Like people's questions and their pain points really haven't changed that much, and it's in the voice search is still a thing. I think, probably everybody uses Siri and Alexa in varying degrees even now, so.
And it was great. You went asked one of the questions that was on the board here. This another one for you, Chris. Do you need to be a current Mediagistic customer to take advantage of the SEO boost right now?
What a great question. No, you do not need to be a current customer. This current iteration works best if we can help manage your Google Business Profile and your website. We can make some injections of content there, but it is open. We're gladly accept some clients outside of our network. And again, if you may not have control of those things, we can adapt this product to kind of better fit your needs for visibility, for sure. So yes, please reach out.
Awesome.
And price point there starts at like $6,000. So
For the
it's
year.
like, yeah, per year. It's not like a massive investment, and we can do it. We'll do an assessment. We'll talk to you about like kind of areas of improvement, and then we can kind of go from there. As a matter of fact, if you scan the QR code, you can sign up, and we'll kind of do an evaluation. We'll get you on the phone with like one of our experts, and they'll kind of give you some pointers. And look, you can take those pointers to an agency down the street if you want. It doesn't matter if you do business with us or not, but we're here to help. Is basically what it
Right.
comes down to.
This is an interesting one. Either one of you can answer. Does having a call rail number on your Google Business Profile affect your NAP?
They're smarter than that. Google's smarter than that at this point. They can see.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. We put call tracking numbers on everything. The more information, in fact, the better we can segment your data and see those sources, the better it is for your business and for us as marketers to make more intelligent decisions. Google doesn't care. I mean, as long as it's not, they can see hard coded numbers too. So as long as you don't have wildly different numbers associated to, like, say your Google Business Profile has a bunch of old listings out there with those numbers, that could be one. Or in directories you have someone, but no, don't worry about that.
But the answer is it used to. So that was like
yes, exactly.
It did really. It really did used to cause a lot of problems for your NAP.
Yeah.
Your name, for those who don't know, name, address, phone number. That consistency drives a lot of value in the current local search landscape. So it did used to cause those problems. So that's a great question.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Maybe you might actually spend probably more time on this one. But the question is, will AI search favor big national brands, or can local businesses still compete effectively?
I think, look, they're going to favor good brands. So necessarily meaning big doesn't really mean as much anymore, I would say. It's going to favor, like I said, when I do my searches and I search all over the country and I use every different model I can find out there, I'm getting interesting results. I mean, I know when I go to Google and I search for HVAC, I know the big players in the US. I'm finding a lot of answers in my LLM responses that I've not heard of yet. So there is lots of opportunity for smaller brands. It's just all about how you can position your brand online. And really, it's kind of like, maybe your brand online is bigger than what it is, but if you're amplifying it in a certain ways and you're getting served up, then you're getting served up. So I think this is actually a good opportunity for smaller brands to
Yeah.
adapt and compete.
Yeah, you're kind of playing on an even playing field right now. The one thing I would add to that is, look, bigger brands have more resources to invest in building brand equity. They have a lot of time to build up a visual identity. They can hire experts to build a great looking kind of look and feel for their brand. They can invest in van wraps and blah 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 blah. Like, kind of the obviously money makes everything easier, but it doesn't mean that you can't get scrappy and do a lot of the things that a big national brand has
Right.
done and play in their field, and frankly be a little more agile than them and a little quicker to adapt, because they're probably not going to start investing in a lot of this stuff. They're going to stick with the things that have made them fat and happy a lot of the time. So, the one thing I could say is, you know, your your name and like your visual identity, I would take a good hard look at that. Like, do you actually stand apart from your market in a way that's going to define you and set you apart? Because if so, like, double down on that. If not, I would say right now is a good time to start thinking about, how do I get there, right?
I like this question as well, guys. So it's one of our attendees says their 5-year-old granddaughter is becoming a chat fanatic already. And while she may not be going to buy an AC anytime soon, though I would say sell her a mini split for the playhouse. How can she said the world is changing? How can we teach the current generation of HVAC buyers to use AI to find our real industry professionals?
Ooh, good. What a good question. I would say to ask qualifying questions. I mean, what separates now a brand from somebody just getting started, with like a tech starting a brand versus an established company? Accreditations, extra training, experience reviews. Those are all things like as a homeowner, I would be asking or looking at to qualify an HVAC provider to make sure that they're reputable. So I would say it's like training that generation to ask follow-up questions about, when they're looking for a provider, ask about years of business, ask about awards, ask about, their reputation in there. So when you see those qualifying, trust symbols or trust factors, that's what helps in my mind make a better decision when you're choosing a contractor. So asking more questions, teaching them to ask more questions.
Yeah, and building a narrative about your brand as well, external to those AI search engines, is going to drive a lot of that value, and really, like, again, it's about future proofing your brand, and I think people are going to naturally just, as the market evolves, people's behavior evolves. If it, like,
Yeah.
back in the day, I think we were using like what, Lycos and Netscape Navigator, and like, these were Yahoo and Ask Jeeves. There's a point where just like almost like a group thought, like, switch just gets flipped, and everybody starts using these tools because everybody just one day started using Google, it felt like, and it was the same thing. If you guys remember the transition from MySpace to Facebook, it almost felt like it happened overnight, right? It's almost like everybody just sort of collectively decides, like, hey, we're going to start doing this. And in a matter of like a pretty short amount of time, it just suddenly becomes the new reality. I mean, am I wrong
Yeah.
about that, Chris? I mean, it
No,
really
100%.
felt that way in the 2000s.
100%. Like I said, as soon as Apple makes a decision here and integrates, I mean, I know they've got intelligence, so to speak, with their new releases, but as soon as they adopt like a true model in their phones, you will see adoption. And really what's going to happen is even more tailored results, so that 5-year-old who starts to interact, those models are going to learn what kind of businesses they choose. Are they looking for something that's more affordable, more established? And I think it's going to start naturally serving up the types of answers and businesses that person is
Yeah.
already choosing.
And I see two questions that I just really want to answer real quick. Will the hype around AI fade? I feel like we can do this in two parts, Chris. Will the hype around AI fade? Is it the next metaverse, or will it get embedded into our daily lives? That's the first question. Second one is, do you anticipate that AI as a global entity will be able to dial down the specific answers and search results for local businesses to provide specific feedback that a customer may be looking for? So the first one, I think you probably agree with me, Chris, but like, I don't think it's going to fade, guys. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like kind of going back to that answer that we just had, it's like I was never convinced about the metaverse, but I'm convinced about this. I really, it may not happen exactly in 2027, but like it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I mean, honestly, I think it will happen in 2027. If not, I mean, it might even happen a little sooner, but my
Yeah.
guess would be latter part of 2027 is really when we'll start to see like a massive shift in that behavior, just like we saw with the shift towards Google, just like we saw with the shift from MySpace to Facebook,
Yeah.
and now Facebook to Instagram and TikTok. Like we're seeing this happen every day, and it just feels intuitive that this one's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, I think the hype will die down as AI as a whole. Like AI is going to take everyone's jobs and is going to be. I think that is definitely going to die down. And the reality
Yeah.
is, studies are coming out like complex physical movements. Like in this, we're in a very well insulated industry right now because that is definitely not coming. AI is definitely not going to take the
Yeah,
jobs of
we're not gonna
our
have a bunch of
technicians and
Terminators
contractors.
come in and start installing HVAC units, right?
Correct. So that's fine. But the for search and interaction of how we use search, it's just impossible because it's just more intuitive, serving up specific, more tailored answers to that user's query. That's what we want as consumers. So that's just inherent. So definitely not
Yeah.
going to die down there.
And I mean, there are limitations to AI, and there's even things like regressive learning and things like that, where like too much AI becomes like self-defeating or something. There is a kind of a limit, I feel like, where AI is not just going to take over our lives and then it's just going to automate us out of existence. You know what I mean? The last question is the one about, can it get down there to the local level? I think so. I mean, do you
Oh
think
yeah.
so, Chris? Like it's going to evolve, it's going to become more localized. These AIs are going to get smarter and smarter and more tuned in and specialized to the user's actual intent. And it's going to be able to parse down very, very specific answers in a way that search just is not doing currently.
Yeah. Even, I mean, if you're logged into Google right now, it is already learning your behavior. So your results that you see from logging in Google may not be what a, homeowner really like next door to you would see. So it's already training. This is going to be even a more amplification of that.
Yep.
Reporting may get more difficult for us because there's going to be such a wide variety of answers. But I think to that point, yes, it's going to get more specific answers.
So look, everybody, we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate the engagement and all the questions. I can't believe how many questions we got. But look, we're happy to talk to you guys all day long about this. So if you do want to continue this conversation, or you want a one-on-one session with like me or Chris or Tyreek, scan that code, fill out the form, and just book an appointment with us. We'll get you in touch with one of us. Happy to even like talk to you directly about your HVAC brand and go through this. Like, so, you can take the assessment, and then once you've taken the assessment, we'll be happy to like hop on the phone and review the results with you like one to one, because we're very excited about this. We're very interested in this, and honestly, like obviously we love marketing, so we're more than happy to sit and talk to you guys about this stuff all day. So hop on there. There is going to be a follow-up with the recording. It will be coming to everybody's inboxes, and then you'll also have the additional opportunity, if you did not get the chance to scan the code, to scan that, to take the assessment, and then you can book a one-on-one session with us at that time as well. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.